Samya Pitara Ajpaha Sagnayo Nagnayastesham Patni Patni Daksha Yani Svada Agnishvata Parishada Samya Pitara Ajpaha Sagnayo Nagnayastesham Patni Daksha Yani Svada Agnishvata Parishada Samya Pitara Ajpaha Sagnayo Nagnayastesham Patni Daksha Yani Svada. Please chant. Anyone else like to chant? Okay. So before we continue, I'll just very briefly introduce myself. My name is Balaram Dāsa. I'm a disciple of His Holiness Giriraj Swami, and I joined the Hare Krishna movement when I was 18 years old. And I joined the Brahmacharya ashram, right out of high school in San Diego and California. And I've been living there in the ashram for about 18 years. And I serve there as the temple president, and from time to time travel around here and there giving classes. And I'm here just today, leaving tomorrow morning. Raj Mohan Brahmachari, he invited me a number of times, so I came, but he's not here. So anyway, yeah. So maybe next time. All right, so we'll do word by word. Agnishvataha. the Vatas. Barhishadaha, the Barhishadas. Somyaha, the Somyas. Pitaraha, the forefathers. Ajyapaha, the Ajyapas. Saagnayaha, those whose means is by fire. Anagnayaha, those whose means is without fire. Tesham, of them. Patni, the wife. Dakshayani, the daughter of Daksha. Sudha. Translation? So we'll read up to text 66. The Agnishvatas, the Barhishadas, the Somyas, and the Ajyapas are the Pitas. They are either Sagnika or Niragnika. The wife of all these Pitas is Sudha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. Sudha, who was offered to the Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Dharini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. The 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was the wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband. Text 66. The reason is that Sati's father, Daksha, used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power. Purport. Lord Shiva, being the head of all mystic yogis, never even constructed a home for his residence. Sati was the daughter of a great king, Daksha, and because his youngest daughter, Sati, selected as her husband Lord Shiva, King Daksha was not very much satisfied with her. Therefore, whenever she met her father, he unnecessarily criticized her husband, although Lord Shiva was faultless. Because of this, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up the body given by her father, Daksha, and therefore she could not produce a child. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 1st chapter of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. Om Gyanativanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kadidvachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yakripadamaham Vande Shri Gurandinitarinam Ancha Kabdribishcha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here in New York, you'll be starting this pastime of Lord Shiva and Daksha and Sati. It's a very amazing pastime in the Bhāgavatam. And as Srila Prabhupada points out in the purport we read today, what happens is Sati somehow or other, Sati, she marries Lord Shiva, and Daksha is not impressed by Lord Shiva. He's said to be envious of Lord Shiva and not really seeing him in his true light. He was seeing him from an external point of view. Because Lord Shiva, his body is covered with ashes, says he wears the skull garland. He has a snake around his neck. So in this way, externally, he doesn't look like a respectable person. And generally, he doesn't look like a typical Vaishnav. If somebody was to come into the Brooklyn temple, covered with ashes and a snake around their neck and skulls, necklace, someone might tell him to leave. Maybe not, but they might say, oh, well, he's dressed up as Lord Shiva. But he doesn't look like the typical Vaishnav. But of course, he's the best of all Vaishnavas, as the Śrimad Bhāgavatam says, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. So one particular time, Lord Shiva, he was in meditation. He was absorbed in transcendence, and Daksha walked in, and everybody else stood up because Daksha's he's part of the. Daksha means he was a progenitor. He was creating so many offspring. That was his empowerment, which was important. That was his service in the universe. But he was a respectable person, so everybody stood up when he came in. Just like we have when a sannyasi comes, they offer their obeisances out of respect for the principle of renunciation. Renunciation being a very important aspect of human life. And somebody who's living in a renounced way, we offer our respects. Even Srila Prabhupada said even to the impersonalists, the sannyasi impersonalists, one should offer their obeisances. So everybody, they stood up, besides Lord Shiva. And Daksha, he became extremely angry that this person, he's not recognizing me. And then he goes on to criticize Lord Shiva. Just see, he's hanging out by the crematorium. He has this skull, Just see this person, and this person Shiva. Lord Shiva. He was the son-in-law of Daksha because Sati and Shiva were married or yet together. So we see there's also family problems in the Bhāgavatam. Between in-laws. It carries on to, these days as well. So he became very angry and started criticizing Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is very tolerant, wasn't fighting back. But Sati, she became offended. My father, he's criticizing my husband, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is faultless, but my father, he's really at fault for criticizing such a person as Lord Shiva, my husband. So she became angry. So like this, the next chapter will go into many details about this particular exchange or this particular pastime in the Bhāgavatam. And eventually Sati, she becomes so disgusted with her father that she says, okay, let me just give up my body. The body that my father gave me, let me just give it up. I don't want any connection with this person. So therefore Sati, that's what they would call when traditionally in traditional times of India, the wife would feel so much separation, Srila Prabhupada writes about it in his purports, that she would enter the fire of the husband's cremation fire, willingly. She wanted to do that because she was thinking, better I die. This is too much to bear, separation from my husband. And Srila Prabhupada writes how that was outlawed in India because there was some cases where apparently people were forcing widows to do that. So it was an outlawed, but therefore sati. But sati, Lord Shiva's wife, it was a what do they call that? Self-manifested flame. By her power, she actually created the fire that consumed her body. And then she broke the connection with her father, Daksha. Eventually, this leads to a battle at the sacrificial arena. Lord Shiva's associates, they weren't happy by this, and they went to take care of Daksha and his buddies. And Daksha actually loses his head. But then, what head does he get? I'm sure we remember, right? He gets a goat head. So every time he looks at, anyways, we don't want to be too. But this particular pastime, Srila Prabhupada, he describes the ill effects of Vaishnava aparad. So when we think of the word aparad, this has been analyzed, the word aparad. So apa means without, and radha without Radharani's mercy. So when we commit aparads, that means we're losing Srimati Radharani's mercy, which is a big issue. And it's an issue because Srimati Radharani, she is the one who's in charge of bhakti. She runs everything, practically. Srila Prabhupada writes about this in the purport, and purports in the Bhāgavatam in the second canto. And he said devotees are very familiar with this. So still in Vrindavan, you will hear the devotees going around saying, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. They're very... So we should see aparads like that. Aparad means offense. Offenses. Of course, there's so many aparads. There's Seva aparad to the deity. There's Vaishnava aparad. There's Jiva aparad. But practically out of all of these, we could say that the Vaishnava aparad is the worst. It's just very intolerable for Krishna. Later on in these chapters, it talks about the dust of the feet of devotees. That dust can bless one if they, in other words, if they serve devotees, then they're blessed. But that same dust or that same devotee, if they offend, it actually destroys them. Their bhakti, creeper, their devotional sentiments. And there's many examples in the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that mention the ill effects of Vaishnava aparad. So does anyone here remember? You could raise your hand. Of a pastime, if you could think of a pastime in the Bhāgavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita which demonstrates, this principle of Vaishnava. Yes. Yes, Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, so these two, okay, yes. We'll take one more, because we got a lot there. Yes. Oh yeah, that was really intense. I mean, like him and his family, but also the village somehow. It was like a whole destruction that went on. Yes, Gopal Pran. Yes. Yes, he tried to frame Srivas pundit for being a Durga worshiper. They put all types of alcohol and tamasic stuff outside his house. And just see Srivas, he claims to be a great devotee, but look what he has in front of his house. So he was envious. So he got some reaction. So yeah, there's so many pastimes. We think of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. You see, Durvasa Muni, he was also envious. He was a mystic yogi, but that envy wasn't removed from his heart. And we could see by meditating on such pastimes how these anarthas could actually just really cause a lot of problems. We wonder why there's prisons in the world. It's because people, they lose control of their anarthas, the unclean things in their heart, and therefore they go to jail, they commit crimes. So Durvasa Muni, he was thinking, why is Ambarish Maharaj getting so much respect? Similarly, you see with Daksha, he was thinking, he's not respecting me. It's a similar principle. Why is Ambarish Maharaj not getting so much respect? Or why is he getting so much respect and I'm not? So he went to his home, his palace, Ambarish Maharaj's palace, and Ambarish Maharaj is a very dutiful householder. He said, please let me feed you. This is my duty. I feed the Brahmins. Feeding the Brahmins is equal to feeding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, Prabhupada writes that the Brahmins should not only eat on behalf of the Lord, but they should speak on behalf of the Lord. But so he was invited for lunch, but it happened to be Dwadasi. So while Durvasa Muni was taking his bath, his noon bath, Ambarish Maharaj was thinking, okay, there's a certain time I need to break my fast. So what do I do? Because my guest is there and I can't eat before my guest has his lunch. So then he consulted the Brahmins, and somehow or other they couldn't figure it out either. But then Ambarish Maharaj, by his fine intelligence and inspiration from Krishna, he figured, okay, let me just drink some water, because that's breaking the fast, but not breaking the fast. This is surely not breaking etiquette. But Durvasa Muni, coming back through his mystic power, he understood. This person drank water. He broke his fast, and now I'm going to kill him. And that's really intense, right? So he got from one of his, apparently, I don't know if it's a dreadlock, but some mystic yogis they have, but his hair, and he threw it down to the ground, and he created this demon who was meant to kill Ambarish Maharaj. So Ambarish Maharaj, as a humble, tolerant devotee, he was thinking, okay, if Krishna wants to come to me in the form of this demon and kill me, okay, I'm ready. And he was just with his hands folded, ready to be killed. Just as Srila Prabhupada, when he was in Calcutta, bombs were falling, and he explains that many people were leaving the city, but he stayed, and he was making puris. He was frying puris and making some sabji offered to his deities, and bombs were falling. And he was saying that if these bombs fall and they take my life, then I'll see this as Krishna. Krishna's coming in the form of a bomb. So Ambarish Maharaj was waiting there, and then Sudarshan came. We have Sudarshan there by Jagannath, Lord Jagannath. Sudarshan came and killed this demon, and then started chasing after Durvasa Muni. And the difference is that Durvasa Muni was terrified, running all over the universe, up to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu, he said to Durvasa Muni, he said, please save me. And Lord Vishnu said that, well, actually, I don't have the power to stop this. You have to go and ask for forgiveness from Ambarish Maharaj. So he went back and asked for forgiveness, and Ambarish Maharaj, what did he say? He said, "I'll never forgive you." Did he say, I hate you, I hope death comes to you soon? Or did he say, "Oh, Sudarshan, come take care of this rascal"? What he said was, actually, I'm not offended at all. I didn't take offense. Such a personality. And he was fasting there for a year. And he said, "Now, Durvasmuni, please take your lunch." And he fed him lunch. So Krishna or Vishnu is explaining in this particular passage we're teaching is that if we commit Vaishnava aparad, then it's intolerable for Krishna. We have to ourselves try to understand our offense and sincerely ask for forgiveness, not just as a show. Like sometimes children, they do something wrong, and the mother says, "Oh, Tommy, or Ashish, or whatever, oh, please, go say you're sorry." Now, of course, it's good training, but it helps the child understand, hey, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but you could say, at least in some cases, I don't want to make it, a blanket statement on the consciousness of or advancement of children, but in general, we could suspect at least a lot of them, they don't understand, what was so wrong about it. They're just doing it because their mother told them to. So we have to try to understand and be sensitive to this principle of not offending Vaishnava. So that's Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. You also have in the Bhāgavatam, you have Sarbari Muni. Very interesting. You know where he was meditating? Anyone remember where he was meditating? Underwater. Yeah, for a very long time. He was meditating. Talk about it. We think we have a tough time chanting japa, right? In the temple room for a couple hours, but he was meditating underwater. That's pretty difficult. Get lonely down there, right? Not much kirtan, right? So he was meditating down there, and the Yamuna, actually, sacred Yamuna river. And he offended Garuda. We have our Garuda here, very beautiful, above Srila Prabhupada, golden Garuda, blessing us. So Garuda, Sarbara Muni, he offended Garuda. And what does anyone remember how he offended him?
Banished him, taking fish in the lake.
Yeah, he banished him because Garuda, he's one of the Vaishnavas who don't exactly follow this principle. No fish. Garuda has fish. He's allowed to have that. He might be the only Vaishnav. I'm sure maybe there's others, but generally, right? We do avoid that. Not generally. So Garuda was going to Yamuna to have his breakfast or his lunch or whatever, and Sarbara Muni was taking great compassion on the fish, and he said to Garuda that if you come here again by my mystic power, I'm going to kill you. So just don't come back. So in this way he offended Garuda. Now when he offended Garuda, immediately material desires entered his heart. While he was meditating down there, he saw two fish copulating, having sex, two fish. And then at that particular point, he became disturbed or agitated, sexually agitated. In other words, he was a great mystic yogi who had control over his senses, the urges of his tongue, his belly, the sex urge. He had control, like a Goswami. But he offended a devotee and he lost control. And as soon as he saw these two fish, he thought, okay, I'm out of here. And he jumped out of the river. And he came out and he was looking, this was, say more, maybe cultured times, but he was thinking, okay, let me get married. And he approached some women, but they're very scared of him. Could anyone guess why?
He jumped out the car.
Yeah, but because of his condition of his body. If you spend a lot of time in water, you get all wrinkly. So they're thinking, oh my God, no, we don't want to marry him. So through his mystic power, he transformed himself into a handsome man. And this is the Bhāgavatam, and it's quite some time ago, and things were different. But he married, I believe it was 100 princesses. And he fulfilled all of his material desires. Yeah. But this gives an example of if we offend devotees, then material desires enters our heart, and cause a lot of problems. A big derail. It could cause us a huge derail in our spiritual lives. Now, what's not talked about so much about Subara Muni is that later on he came back to the path, and he went back to Godhead, along with his 100 wives. Amazing. He actually attained perfection. So it's not that we commit Vaishnava Vrata and then, that's it. There's chance, rectification. Lastly, Krishna Kripa Prabhu, right? Yeah. Lastly, Krishna Kripa Prabhu is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You have the case of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was an absolutely amazing, topmost Paramahamsa Vaishnava, just on the highest level of Krishna consciousness. And in his last days, living in this world, he was on his disappearance bed there, and he had two disciples, Ishvara Puri and Ramchandra Puri. So Ramchandra Puri, he went up to his guru, and he saw that his guru was lamenting. Madhavendra Puri was lamenting. He was on his deathbed and his disappearance bed, and he was saying, I have not attained Krishna. I have not attained Krishna Prem. And then Ramchandra Puri, he begins to instruct his spiritual master. And Ramchandra Puri says to him, oh, Gurudev, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashochati nakanshati, that if you're on the spiritual platform, you shouldn't lament. So why are you lamenting? And further, you should just meditate on Brahman, impersonal. He had the tinge of impersonalism. So when Madhavendra Puri heard this, he pointed to the door. He told him, he said, "Get out, you sinful rascal." And he said, "I do not know what my destination will be if I die seeing your face. Just leave." So he was denounced by his guru, rejected. But then you have the other example of Ishvara Puri. Ishvara Puri, he was very humbly serving his guru. He was reading pastimes of Krishna to his guru. He was menially serving, cleaning and so many different things, helping him in every way, assisting him. And later, Ishvara Puri, he became such a empowered person. He became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you have to be very qualified spiritual master to be the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. So these are the two examples And by these examples, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he teaches the world what is the result of offending a devotee and what is the result of serving. So Ramchandra Puri, he became such a criticizer. He went to Jagannath Puri, and the devotees were just really unhappy in his company. What he would do is he would invite devotees to his place, and he would say, "Please take prasadam," and he would feed them prasadam. Rice, dal, chapatis, sabji, sweets, and then he would feed them a lot. They would, say, overeat. So on as Giriraj Swami and Indrayamna Swami, they tell how they were in someone's home in South Africa, and devotees were feeding them prasadam. And they were they were at the table, but the kitchen they couldn't see. So they were just at the table, and devotees were bringing things from the kitchen. So then Giriraj Swami, one particular point, he looks at Indrayamna Swami and he says, "Maharaj, I'm getting really full, and I'm not sure how much more they have left in the kitchen. They might have a lot left. So what should we do about this? It's a problem." And then Indrayamna Swami says that, well, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one should not sleep too much or sleep too little, and one should not eat too much or eat too little. So he said, today we're following the instruction of not eating too little. So anyways, Ramchandra Puri, he was just feeding devotees. Now, after he would feed them, he would say to them, he would look at them and say, "Just see, I heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers eat too much prasadam, and now I've seen it with my own eyes." But he was the one who was doing it. And he would even went so far to criticize Lord Chaitanya. He went to his place where Lord Chaitanya was staying, and there were some ants there. And then there's a very beautiful picture in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the BBT artists, they painted. It's Ramchandra Puri looking very angry, and he's pointing down to the ground to these ants. And he's looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and saying, "Just see, you're a sannyasi, and I see that there's ants here. That means you're keeping sweets. You're hiding sweets." And Lord Chaitanya's looking very scared. But Prabhupada writes that there's ants everywhere. So in this way, Ramchandra Puri, material desires entered his heart, and he became a dry speculator, and he became a critic of all Vaishnavas by offending his guru in this way. So in this way, there are a number of different pastimes, Dhruva Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj. We're going to get more into the details of Lord Shiva and Daksha pastime, very instructive. Sarbara Muni, Ramchandra Puri. So you have these different pastimes, and these are meant to be cautionary pastimes. We're meant to learn, take it seriously, and do the opposite, do the positive, go to the positive route. Just like one of the offenses to the holy name is we shouldn't blaspheme devotees. So positively, we can praise the devotees. Does anybody have any question or comment or reflection or something you'd like to say? Yes, Krishna Kripa Prabhu. Yes, 50. Yes, I mixed that up. 100 or 50.
And you were telling about how children, they don't really, when they apologize, they don't really apologize. I was in Harinam and had these shakers.
Yeah.
And these 3 girls ran off with them.
Oh, really? Wow.
They told the police, and the police chased them down. Brought one of the girls
Oh, really?
It was sad, yeah. It's true,
Yeah,
They didn't really appreciate that it was a bad thing that they ripped them off,
yeah. Yeah, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives the solution to Vaishnava Aparad in the Madhurya Kadambini, one small book he wrote, but very powerful book. Everybody should read it if they haven't, and if you have read it, we could read it again. But he gives the solution there. He says that we should go to if we've offended a devotee, we should go to them and beg forgiveness. But that implies that we try to understand deeply how we might have offended this person. And sometimes we may think, oh, well, it's just their false ego or something, they should just, grow up or whatever. But, we're persons. People have, people get offended. So anyways, we go and we apologize, we ask for forgiveness. And further, he says that sometimes the Vaishnavas won't forgive us, interesting enough. And he says if they don't forgive us, and he doesn't mention how, oh, this is a materialistic Vaishnav that won't forgive us. He just says a Vaishnav won't forgive us sometimes. But then we might think, well, why wouldn't a Vaishnav forgive us? Now, one reason we could think of is that Vaishnavas are very perceptive. The more advanced they are, the more perceptive they are in many ways. So if someone can perceive that this person doesn't really, they don't really mean it. I mean, there's an element of insincerity there, a lack of understanding based on their body language, based on their apology, then they may not forgive, for example. That may be a reason. But if they don't forgive us, which that's unfortunate, but he gives a solution, then we should take shelter of the holy name, and by that it will be rectified. But further, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says we should try to serve them. We should serve the devotees. We offend them, then ask for forgiveness, and then serve them. For example, you could give them, maybe give them some prasadam, something that they like. You got to find out what they like. So in this way, a solution's given for Vaishnava Aparad. Any other? Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Regarding Dāsa Muni.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I think about Sudarshan Chakra coming, and he's feeling the burn of Sudarshan on his back when he's running. And so sometimes, as devotees, we might not even be aware that we committed an offense to someone.
That's true.
Due to our own idiosyncrasies, or due to whatever natures are covering our, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So how can we become more aware of that chakra that's behind us?
Yeah.
How do we become more aware? I've committed an offense to a devotee and I have to rectify it.
Yeah. Well, one thing is that if we do something that's out of line, or if we commit like an offense, then we may get like glimpses of our old consciousness or material consciousness. Just like if we do things that are in line with Krishna consciousness, we get glimpses of higher states of consciousness. Like, for example, in a kirtan, or you may be worshiping the deity, or you may be distributing books out on the streets. We get like glimpses of higher states of consciousness if we're on the right path. So one way that we can tell if we may have committed a offense to devotees is that we're not feeling so inspired or encouraged or happy in Krishna consciousness. That might be due to Vaishnava Aparad. Of course, it could be to other things too, but that's highly likely. So yeah, we have to fine-tune our consciousness, purify our consciousness, try to be introspective sages, and learn how to, just be sensitive. Rupa Goswami, there's a story told about Rupa Goswami, how he was meditating on Krishna's pastimes in samadhi, And apparently in the past time something funny happened. He had his eyes closed, and then he started to laugh. And one devotee was walking by, and this devotee had some you could say issue with the body, some type of deformity or something like that. So then that devotee thought that Rupa Goswami was laughing at them. So then all of a sudden his meditation broke, and he was thinking, oh, why did that happen? So then he asked one other devotee his thoughts. It's always good to get the thoughts of devotees. He said, I was meditating and my meditation broke. Well, what could be the cause? And they came to the conclusion that, well, you might have offended someone, while you're laughing and seeing these pastimes, and they thought it was you're laughing at them. So he said that, okay, what you should do, you should hold a big feast, you should invite everyone, and whoever doesn't come, you should understand that you offended this person. So everybody came, but one person. So then he understood, okay, I've offended this person, and he went and he apologized. And now this is interesting because it was it wasn't actually directed towards him. Just see, that's like on a whole higher level, It was, it really didn't have anything to do with him, his laughter wasn't laughing at him. So yeah, in this way, so this is teaching us we have to be very careful. We're living with all the brahmacharis upstairs. There's a lot of offenses that could be, you're living in close quarters, pretty close quarters up there, or you're living in your family or whatever, there's a lot of opportunities. So the main way we fine-tune our consciousness is by fine-tuning our japa, to fine-tune our chanting of the holy name. And then we're able to, there's so many books about that. Like Borijan Prabhu wrote this book called Japa. It's a very wonderful book, how to fine-tune our japa. All right. Yes, Krishna Kripa Prabhu.
There's a verse that describes the 6 kinds of Vaishnava aparad, and it's quoted in Sangyata Charitamrita Madhyayana 261. Ati Nindanti Vaivaisti Vaishnavati Nindandati Sudite Yatino Harshandoshne Patitani Shat. And basically, whoever kills or blasphemes a Vaishnava, whoever is envious of a Vaishnava or angry with him, or does not offer him obeisances or feel joy upon seeing him, simply falls into a hellish condition.
And they really cover everything there, huh? Jeez.
If you see a Vaishnava and you're not happy about it,
Well, also like
this guy wasn't my name. This guy stole my prasadam.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he mentions all the reasons you shouldn't criticize a Vaishnava: for their bad birth, for their sinful activities before coming to Krishna consciousness, for their issues or sinful activities maybe while they're as a devotee. So he lists a lot, and then you're looking at the list and you're wondering, well, what can you criticize a Vaishnava for? That's the idea. We should try to. Okay. Yes. Yes.
So what is, for example, we know the whole...
Sorry, just one thing. Sorry. It says we should be happy by seeing a Vaishnava. Now, if we think about that, you say, why wouldn't you be happy seeing someone? Now, it's interesting because let's say we haven't seen one of our best friends for a long time, and then they walk in the room. Oh, very happy to see you. Now, if we're criticizing somebody or we're thinking ill of them, or we don't really like them for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. So then they walk in the door and you're like, not so happy to see. Means there's something. Practically speaking, generally, there's something that's going on. we're not so happy to see somebody for a reason. Thinking ill of them, criticizing them, not liking them, whatever. So therefore we should, be happy to see devotees. Yes, sorry.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Well, we could start with one.
So the first question is, I really appreciate the class. We talked about, basically like criticizing Vaishnavas. So, for example, what would be the reaction for a person that criticizes a devotee that's not in Krishna consciousness? For example, a family member that's not in bhakti.
Yeah.
Would
Okay.
it still apply for
So what would be the consequence of somebody who criticizes a Vaishnav who's not, who them not being practitioners? Well, I mean, because they're not engaged in Krishna consciousness, they can't really lose their taste for Krishna consciousness because they don't really have any. But then again, there is a principle there that we should avoid the envious because they'll become more envious. So therefore, if somebody's envious, you just avoid them because they'll commit more offenses. So yeah, there is an effect. Yeah, there's an effect. And what is the effect? I mean, what is the effect? Any thoughts about that? I mean, it definitely doesn't help their you could say pious credits, Yeah, it keeps them away from Krishna, keeps them away from. You have some thought about that?
Well, I quoted that verse from the CC. There's actually 3 verses, and the other 2 I did the Sanskrit. My dear king, one who derives an exalted devotee loses the results of his pious activities, his opulence, his reputation, his sons.
Yeah, thank you.
Those are all great souls. Whoever blasphemies then falls down into hell known as Maha Gaurava, accompanied by his forefathers.
Yeah, so depending on like the level of their criticism, a level of their what they do, then they get corresponding reactions. So whether you're a devotee or not a devotee, if you commit Vaishnava aparad, violence towards Vaishnavas in different ways, depending on the degree, you're going to get different reactions. So, it depends to what degree. Yeah.
I just have a comment on
Okay.
the fact of just like when we make and criticize non-devotees, and I think you said this also, it's like just a thought that it's a bad impression of Krishna consciousness and of a Vaishnava. And so our duty is, especially like with book distribution, is to make a good impression of
Yeah.
the person. Such that they're more favorable
Yeah.
to devotees. And from that helps them. And so by not doing that, they feel adverse to us. And
Yeah.
from that they feel adverse, like you said, to Krishna. And so from that, that's one of the worst things, we're taking them away from their soul's natural yearning.
Well, about criticizing non-devotees, there is room for that. We do it every Bhāgavatam class. I'm just joking. But Shukadev Goswami, he mentions it. He criticizes the materialistic householders in the beginning of the Bhāgavatam. How they're wasting their life. And you may think by just, engage in animal propensities, no God realization. So we may wonder, why is Shukadev Goswami talking about this? Why doesn't he just talk about Krishna? So the idea is that for the purpose of teaching, one may criticize other materialistic people, or even so-called religious leaders. Srila Prabhupada would do that a lot. Within intimate circles, but also probably do it publicly. But the principle is for teaching. You could do it for teaching. There shouldn't be any other motive. Yeah. All right, I think breakfast is calling, so I don't want to interrupt anybody's call here. It's an important call, breakfast call. So, meeting with Krishna in the form of prasadam. So, thank you all very much. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
You have one more question?